Are you ready for some next level points tricks to get free flights? You can use this trick to get free flights all the way across Europe, to get from Quito to the Galapagos Islands, which is a notoriously expensive flight, or even get all the way across Africa just by structuring your itinerary creatively. This trick can be done fully online, and it doesn't require you to call an airline and try to explain to them what you're trying to do. In fact, you probably should not call the airline because most of the airline agents will just be really confused about this magical trick known as the United Excursionist Perk. So what exactly is the United Excursionist Perk? This is a United-specific program rule that says you can get a free one-way award within select multi-city itineraries as long as you follow certain rules. First, your free flight can't be in the same region where your itinerary starts. Therefore, if you're starting your itinerary in the United States, you cannot get a free flight in the United States, but you could get a free flight in Europe, Africa, or any of the other United-defined regions. Not every continent is its own region. US and Canada is one region, Mexico is its own region, and then there's Central America, Northern South America, Southern South America, Europe, Northern Africa, Southern Africa, the Middle East, South and Central Asia, North Asia, Southeast Asia, Japan is its own region, Australia, New Zealand, and then the rest of Oceania. Second, the origin and destination of your free flight through the United Excursionist Perk has to be within one region that's different than your starting region. So for instance, since Japan is defined as its own region, you can't really get a free flight from Japan to Thailand with this trick. But you could get a free flight from Ghana all the way to Madagascar if you find the award availability. Third, if you're stringing together a ton of different stops, only the first flight that meets the first two rules will be free. You can't get multiple free flights on the same itinerary, but there are ways to split it into multiple itineraries to get multiple free flights. And fourth, your itinerary has to end in the same region as you started, and all of this has to be booked using miles on United.com on the same itinerary. You can earn United miles by flying United, using United credit cards like any of these, or by transferring in Build or Chase Ultimate Rewards points into your United account. If you're using Chase Ultimate Rewards points, you can combine the points you earn from no annual fee cards like the Chase Freedom Flex, Chase Freedom Unlimited, Chase Ink Business Cash, and Chase Ink Business Unlimited into a gateway account that lets you access the Chase Portal and Transfer Partners. To be able to access the Chase Portal and Transfer Partners, you're going to want a Chase Sapphire Preferred, Chase Sapphire Reserve, or Chase Ink Business Preferred. If you're just getting started with earning points and making your first redemption, we offer free credit card consultations and have a free course for you to cover how to go from 0 to redeeming points, both of which you can find in the description box. And if all of those rules about the United Excursionist Perk were super confusing, don't worry. We have some examples for you and some step-by-step tutorials coming right up. The way this is supposed to work is if you fly from New York to Paris to Athens back to New York, your flight from France to Greece would be free. So how does this work in practice? Here's a tutorial of what to click on United's website to get your free flight.
Alright, here we're going to go through the base case of how to get a free flight by using the United Excursionist Perk. So what you're going to do is go to United.com and you're going to click on this advanced search button. Once you've clicked on that advanced search button, you're going to see a page that looks like this. I pre-populated it with some stuff, but what you want to do is click on miles over here. Make sure you've clicked on multi-city, and then I've put in just one adult. I put in a test itinerary of going from New York to Paris, then Paris to Athens, all the way across Europe, then Athens, back to New York. You can add more destinations if you want, but with United Excursionist Perk, you're only going to get the first leg that's outside of your home destination for free. So let's go ahead and click on Find Flights and see what we find. So here we have the first leg. It's going to be from New York to Paris. We're going to do this with miles. I picked October 4. You can really pick whatever date you want. I'm just going to do this in economy to make it easier, and I sorted by the lowest economy price. So the cheapest flight we can find here is from LaGuardia, and it goes over to Paris for 30,000 miles and $5.60. So let's go ahead and select that, and then let's pick the next leg. And if you've done everything correctly up through now, for the Paris to Athens leg in miles, you should see everything zeroed out because you chose the 30,000 point economy flight from New York to Paris. So then this flight from Paris all the way to Athens is going to be free. Keep in mind, you do have to actually take that flight, like you have to physically be on that flight from JFK or from LaGuardia over to Charles de Gaulle. And if you miss that flight, then the rest of the itinerary gets canceled. But if you do take that flight over to Paris, then you get this one all the way to Athens for free. So then let's just go ahead and pick the last leg of this triangle. And here we have the last leg, which is going to be from Athens over back to New York. It's still going to be in miles. And then in economy, it's going to be 30,000 miles again as the cheapest one. So if we select 30,000 for the first leg, our second one will be 0. We just need to select this last leg, and let's see what our total looks like. What you're going to see over here then is going to be your New York to Paris leg, your Paris to Athens, and then Athens to New York. It all has to be on the same itinerary, but your middle one will be free, so you get all 3 of these flights for 60,000 miles plus $122 in taxes and fees, which is not bad at all.
That's a pretty cool trick, but this travel hack actually goes much deeper. Remember that Rule 1 says that your free flight has to be in a separate destination than where you start, and your final flight has to end in the same region where you started. However, your itinerary doesn't need to be continuous. Your second flight doesn't need to start where your first flight ended. With this loophole, this lets us get some really big free flights across different regions without having to pay much in points for the free flight at all. And it lets you string together different flight deals that you might find. This is also a fantastic trick to use if you have to take positioning flights because maybe your home airport isn't a major international hub. So here's a walkthrough of how to do a next level United Excursionist Perk itinerary. Also, if you're enjoying these step-by-step walkthroughs, please let me know by clicking that like button, commenting below, and subscribing to the channel for even more tutorials.
Okay, let's go over the more advanced use case for the United Excursionist Perk. So I'm on that advanced tab again, and I've selected flight only, miles, multi-city. Let's say that you're like me and you live near an airport like Las Vegas where you always have to take a positioning flight because there's not a lot of good international routes directly from Las Vegas. So I always have to go to LAX. Well, let's say that I found a really good deal from LAX to Dublin, maybe on Aer Lingus or something like that. And then separately, I found a really good deal from Istanbul back to LAX. But that's not really a continuous itinerary because I have to get from home to LAX and I have to get all the way across Europe to use both of those good flights that I found. And I have to get back home. That is where the United Excursionist Perk can really come in handy with this super hacky hack. So we're going to type in multi-city and use this as the example today, Las Vegas to Los Angeles, then Dublin to Istanbul because you found the flight from Los Angeles to Dublin separately. You found the flight from Istanbul to Los Angeles separately, so your last leg is just going to be Los Angeles to Las Vegas. So let's go ahead and click on Find Flights and see what we find. So here is going to be the first leg where it's from Las Vegas to Los Angeles. We're going to book this with miles. It's only 5.6 thousand miles and $5.60. So we're going to go ahead and click that. You could alternatively do this in first or business class. If you do the first leg in business class, your free flight would be in business class as well. I'm just going to go ahead and select economy for the purpose of this example. All right, so here's the second piece where we are flying from Dublin all the way to Istanbul. Just like before, it clears out and you have 0 miles on everything, so it's a free flight. All you need to do is pay these $16 in taxes and fees. So we'll go ahead and select that. And then here we have the last leg from LAX back home to Las Vegas. Again, 5.6 thousand miles, $5.60. So we'll go ahead and click that and see what our final itinerary looks like. So here's our final itinerary where we are flying from Las Vegas to Los Angeles. We have a separate itinerary to get us from Los Angeles to Dublin. Then we have this free flight from Dublin to Istanbul, and then a separate flight from Istanbul to Los Angeles, and then Los Angeles back to Las Vegas. For these 3 pieces, it all just comes down to a total of about 11,000 miles plus a few dollars in taxes and fees. So not bad at all to do your positioning flights, plus get all the way across Europe. And this lets you take advantage of those other flight deals that you may have found from LAX to Dublin and from Istanbul back to Los Angeles. And this is how you can get some really deep hacks with the United Excursionist Perk.
Remember, in order to get that free flight, you do need to take the first flight or else the rest of your itinerary is going to get forfeited. However, the last flight is completely optional if you want to take it or not. There's one additional rule that I want to mention for the United Excursionist Perk, and that is that you can use this to get a free business class flight as well if your first leg is in business class, even if the final leg of your itinerary is booked in economy. So here's an example of how this would work.
So here's an example of how you can use the United Excursionist Perk to get a free business class flight. So here on the Advanced tab again, I've selected flight only, miles, multi-city, and I'm searching Boston to New York. Let's say we found a different way to get from New York to Madrid. I want a free business class flight from Madrid up to Frankfurt because maybe we found a good flight from Frankfurt back to Los Angeles, and then we're going to position to Las Vegas, just as an example. So this is what I have typed in my query. Let's go ahead and select business and see what we find. So here's going to be the first leg of our flight from Boston to New York. I want to go ahead and select the business class flight, so then our next leg can be free in business as well. Remember that your free leg can be in the same class or lower as the flight right before it. So let's go ahead and click on business class right here for 25.5 thousand miles plus $5.60. So after that, this is what we should be seeing on the next tab. Sometimes you will find availability and sometimes you won't. It actually took me a couple tries to find an example that had business class availability on the Saver Award space, since there just are fewer business class flights available on each plane. But here you can see that we have this operated by Lufthansa flight from Madrid over to Frankfurt in business class for 0 miles and about $20. So not bad at all. So let's go ahead and select that and go on to the last segment. And here's the last leg of our flight from Los Angeles over to Las Vegas. Here we can actually just select the economy piece if we want to just pay 6,000 miles instead of another 25,000. And we would still get that middle leg from Madrid over to Frankfurt in business class for free. So let's go ahead and click on this economy option and see what we get from there. Okay, so here's going to be our final itinerary. We have Boston to New York in business class. We have Madrid to Frankfurt for free in business class. And then we have Los Angeles to Las Vegas in economy. All three of these flights together are only going to cost us 31.5 thousand miles and $31. So not a bad itinerary at all.
Keep in mind that in that example, you don't even need to take that Los Angeles to Las Vegas flight. It's possible for you to just add it onto your itinerary if it was the cheapest economy flight you could find, so that you could get that Madrid to Frankfurt leg in business class for free. So there you have 3 different ways to use the United Excursionist perk to get some free flights. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions at all that I can help answer for you. Additionally, thank you so much to the GeoBreeze Travel Patreon community for supporting this channel and the GeoBreeze Travel podcast. If you'd like to join the Patreon, we host live group coaching every month, and we also have deep dive masterclasses into particular topics, including live walkthroughs for how to find a workspace for Patreon members on the call. If you enjoy these videos about different ways to make the most out of your miles, I think you'll also enjoy this video next, which covers some ways to make the most out of your American Airlines miles.